Welcome to the Mike Gormley Show at our new home, our new station. Hey, Mike, good to see you. What do you think about our new digs here at
Uh,
Rincon Broadcast?
it's pretty cool. It's getting pretty close to being professional.
It is almost. Don't tell anybody. Well, hey, Mike, you've got an amazing show, an amazing guest, and I'm going to let you tell us all about it. If you just tuned in, you tuned into the right place at the right time. It's the Mike Gormley Show.
Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. It's Mike Gormley speaking, and this is this is a premiere show of the Mike Gormley Show, which is going to be heard on Friday mornings at 8 o'clock. And it's going to be we're going through Rincon Broadcasting now, which is the home of KTYD and 99.9 and KTMS at 990 AM as well as 97.9 FM. And it's
Santa Barbara.
Pardon?
I just said
Oh,
Santa
okay, yes,
Barbara, Rincon
Santa
Broadcast.
Barbara. Oh, but they know that. I guess they
They
don't know
know.
that in like New Jersey or somewhere these days when you can be heard all over the place. But yeah, Santa Barbara. And I think a great start with two great guests and from a band that's raising a lot of dust these days, because not only are these guys musicians and of high note, but lately they're kind of movie stars. Kind of, they're in the film world now with a documentary on the Immediate Family, which is the name of the band. So I'd like to welcome Danny Kortchmar and Steve Postell from the Immediate Family. Hi, guys.
Very nice to be here. How you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful having you here. Um, you know, you probably hear this all the time, but you do research and you want to talk about something, and you find out that everything that's been done by the guys in this band is kind of overwhelming. Just the various artists you've played with, not only you two, but of course Waddy Wachtel is in the band, and the great Lee Sklar on bass, and you're all major figures.
Don't forget Russ Kunkel on drums. One of the greatest ever.
I'm sorry, Russ. And my background is drums. How could I forget him? But is it? It's a silly question, but what's it like? You guys work in studios, you work together, but now you're a band. Is it kind of a psychological difference, or is it you're playing the tunes?
Well, I tell you what, it's different in that we're not working for somebody. We're working for ourselves.
Hmm.
Whatever we do, it's what we want to do, and we don't have to make someone else look good. We got to try to make us look good.
Yeah.
It's very different in that way. And also, as a songwriter, I'm writing songs, or I was writing songs, more for the band than for general
Yeah.
use, as it were.
That and that's an interesting world these days of writing songs. There's a certain amount of turmoil going on in terms of even getting paid, even having outlets and so on. Have you run into that?
Well, nobody's going to get paid. The fact is that the way it's set up now, songwriters don't get paid unless you're in the top 10. And the only way you get in the top 10 is by having millions of followers on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So none of this stuff has the power that it did have. Songs don't have the power that they had in 1970 or 1972. They just don't. So it's a different world.
Mike, at this point, we write songs because we like to write songs.
Mm-hmm.
I I've actually, unless I had a specific uh, job to do, like write a song for this television show, I've never thought about. I wonder if this is going to be a hit song or if this song is going to. I write songs because that's what I love to do, and I think all of us come from that
And
school.
you always did. I mean, all you wrote because you wanted to write a song. It wasn't it's like, oh, let's write a hit tomorrow. It was,
That's right. To me,
yeah.
my idea of a hit is, do I love it? But that's just a hit for me. That doesn't mean other people are going to love it, and mostly they don't.
Yeah. Well, they do an awful lot in your case, but
Well, they had in the past, but now, of course, it's a different world.
yeah, yeah. But and so you're writing for Immediate Family. Um, is it are you individuals writing? Are you writing together? Is it a combination of the two?
I think it's all pretty much a combination of all of us, that
Yeah.
chime in. For instance, I write with Waddy a lot. We write with Steve. Waddy and I write with Steve a lot. And Russell is a very good writer. He throws his stuff in there too. So it's a mixture of
Uh-huh.
everybody.
Oh, cool. We should mention some of the people you've all worked with. And Danny, you have a very interesting starting point. You started, if I got this right, in the documentary I watched it, which is very good, and we'll talk about that later. But you started with James Taylor when you guys were like 13, 14 years old and weren't yet doing music. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, we were just hanging out, being teenagers and chasing girls and doing whatever we wanted to do because he
Yeah.
was 13, I was 14. But we had music in common. We both loved the blues. We both loved Lightning Hopkins tremendously. And James's acoustic style was, I mean, was in its infancy at that time, but it grew tremendously. The next year, for instance, he had, gone, changed completely. Not completely, but had grown tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
So we hung out for a summer. The next summer, he had come back with his acoustic guitar and he had learned how to play in his style already. So, but that, when he was still a teenager, he had the essence of his guitar style.
That's very interesting. But his vocals were something you didn't really know about. I mean, he started singing on a casual situation with you, and you went, "What?"
Right, like I said, we were kids. We were hanging out on Martha's Vineyard. Now, Martha's Vineyard was very different than the way it is now. Now it's like the Hamptons, but back then it was bucolic. It was an open space. That it wasn't crowded. There weren't zillionaires taking over. And when I met James, we were just hanging out on the front porch of the Menemsha store. It was like nobody there. There was a dog sleeping on the middle of the street.
Okay.
And we were just hanging out, we didn't know what to do. But he and I, we became pals and we started hitchhiking everywhere, which is how all of us got everywhere. And one time we were walking down a road and he started singing. He started singing a Ray Charles song. And I whipped around and looked at him. I said, "My God, you can sing. You can sing, but you can really sing." So it was astonishing to me. And I knew what real singing was. And he had it immediately.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. But at a young age to figure that out, it's it gave you a lot of time to pull everything together, I guess, right?
Well, we weren't pulling everything together. We were just following our instincts, and
Yeah.
him and I both.
But it got to the point of you had the Flying Machine was the band you were both in, right?
That's right. Yes.
You were the lead singer, and so at some point you said, "Let's start a band," or did it happen naturally?
Well, yeah, I got in touch with James. He was at the time, the band I was in before that, the King Bees, had just broken up, and I
Mm.
always wanted to be in a band with James because I knew he was great. He was great when he was a teenager. So I called him, and he was in Massachusetts, and he hitchhiked down to New York and slept on my couch. And we thought about putting a band together, and we got Joel O'Brien on drums, and we got our old pal Zach Wiesner, who's a very bright fellow.
Mhm.
So James taught him to play the right bass notes, on all our tunes,
Oh,
and away we went.
that's cool.
Mhm.
It's Steve, how did you start out with was it as dramatic as that, or was it
Musically?
yeah, musically, sorry, yeah.
Well, I think like a lot of us, I think, because I know Waddy's talked about this, I knew really young, but even before I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I'd seen guitar players. This is what I wanted to do. So that there was never really any question about or wavering in that. And I, so I was begging my parents for a guitar from when I was 5 or 6.
Hmm.
Finally got one when I was 8. They got me. I'm very lucky that a very interesting guy who was my guitar teacher, he was a singer and a folk singer and a Broadway singer and a classical guitarist. He was all these different things. So I kind of got this very cool education where from day one, I was singing and reading and playing a song and playing classical and it just evolved. I was in New York City grew up in New York City. New York City was an incredible place to be, creatively, culturally, and so I saw everything. And my influences, I saw Nureyev, I saw Duke Ellington, I saw Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. I saw it was a every weekend of my life, starting like 12 or 13 when I could go off on my own, were these great influences, and I was playing. So,
Uh,
you know,
was it a creative atmosphere when you were growing up with the family?
well, yeah, my mother's a painter, was a painter, and my father was supportive of it all, but because that's what she did every day, I watched her every day. She'd get on her bike, drive down to Carnegie Hall where she had a art studio,
Hmm.
paint all day. It was just sort of a given. It was between my family being very supportive and had a huge record collection and supporting me in the sense of getting me a guitar, and then for my 16th birthday a two-track sound on sound tape recorder, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But
So
the
Danny, your mom was when she was a writer, I mean, of note.
Yes.
You was very creative around your place. Was there music involved, or she was the writer and you just kind of wandered in your area?
Well, music was involved only peripherally. She was a very good writer, and she wrote a bunch of mystery novels, all of which got published. And she was a terrific writer, but she was also a good poet, a brilliant poet. She had a bunch of different skills, which you would have if you were brought up in Europe, which she was. She
Yeah.
had those the kind of European idea of what culture was, which is the total opposite of what American American culture is. But the fact is, everyone in my family and everyone in my, and my parents' friends, they all hated rock and roll, and they said, "Well, are you going to play like Julian Bream, the wonderful classical guitarist? No. Are you going to play like Django Reinhardt, the magnificent Belgian guitarist? I would love to, but no. I was interested in playing rock and roll because that was youth music, and it just spoke to me. The first time I heard Little Richard's Lucille, my brain exploded. I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever heard in my life. So there was something about that music, that R&B and rock and roll music, that really got to me, even though my parents were very much interested in classical music, European music mostly, and
Yeah.
show tunes ultimately, which is the
But
way
they let you go. They let you run with what you had.
they know they had no choice to let me go. I
Right.
went. You know, nobody thought in my family I was ever going to amount to anything. Including me, by the way. Uh,
Yeah.
but I happened to be there at the right time in the right place, and things worked out well.
So run down a little bit, or I will run down a little bit of the members of them. And we've mentioned how you guys have been around a lot, but I should point out that Danny we're talking about James Taylor, and you're very much part of his career, but you also worked very closely with Linda Ronstadt and Carole King and Jackson Browne and so many more. I mean, that's a little mind exploding right there, even though it didn't happen early.
Well, you got to remember, in the late '60s, early '70s, all hell was breaking loose, especially in Los Angeles. Everyone knew everyone. It was an incredible community, and everyone knew everyone. Everyone got together. Everyone traded guitars and songs, and it was absolutely great. One time Stills called me up and said, "Can I use your basement amp? It's over here." I said, "Of course you can, absolutely." The next day, or 2 weeks later, I asked him to borrow a guitar, and this is the way it was. We
Yeah.
were all in the same boat, as it were, and everyone was tremendously helpful to everyone else. It was a wonderful, wonderful social situation to grow up in and to participate in musically.
That's fantastic. And Steve, where were you? You were still in New York at this point, you think?
Oh, yeah, I didn't get out here till like 2004, and the scene in New York was those guys were doing this beautiful interaction around which was largely around songwriting, and New York was a more at least my experience of it, there was tons of music and there was a huge community, but there was much more involved in the commercial part of it. Like we were doing film stuff and TV stuff, and we were on the cutting edge of when cable came out, writing for that, and there were plenty bands that came out in New York, but it was definitely a different scene. It was also a few years later than what Danny's talking about, but in terms of the vitality of it, um, I mean, I'm still in touch with all these guys. There was more work than if you could play music. There was tons to do.
You can make a living?
Absolutely. Yeah, even yeah. I mean, the clubs paid. You could play every night. There were sessions in the day. I played Broadway shows. I'd play a
Really?
session in the day, play a Broadway show. Then after the Broadway show, I'd go down to Bleecker Street and play a gig. It was just nonstop. It was and it was affordable. I had a rehearsal studio in a building called the Music Building, which was 12 floors of just music. And it was a giant room, like half the size of a gymnasium, just ours from my band, 325 a month. So we just it was our clubhouse. We were there if we didn't have a gig, we were in there playing and doing some other stuff too. But it helped us play.
Sure. But and we, although Leland is not here and Russ is not here and Waddy's on the road right now as we speak anyway with Stevie Nicks, is that right?
Yeah, Stevie, right.
And he's been with her a long time, but he's also worked in the Rolling Stones, or at least Keith Richards,
Right.
And the famous winos, who I got to see play once. Actually, it was very cool.
Russ and Lee are out right now. They left a couple of days ago. They're out with Lyle Lovett right now.
Lyle Lovett, that's right. And this is kind of normal for them. And Danny, are you out touring very much, or are you?
Okay, I don't do that anymore.
Besides immediate family.
Right, I don't do that anymore. I was kicked upstairs in the early '80s and became a producer, especially when Don Henley hired me to co-produce his music, co-write and co-produce his music for his solo career.
Uh-huh.
And that's when everything changed. But I wasn't enjoying, let me tell you, the truth is I wasn't enjoying doing sessions all the time because 85 to 90% of them were shit. All right. I don't like playing lame cartoon pop music. I don't like playing, cardboard music. I don't like playing for people, commercials. That's not why I learned to play the guitar to the degree that I do, which is
all right.
Minimal. I like playing serious music with serious people.
Well, we're actually coming up to the first commercial. I can't believe this. The beginning is going by so quickly, but we're going to start with some immediate family music, and when we come back, we'll talk about it a little more. I think we're going to hear, as we leave here, we're going to hear a tune called "Fragile Heart." Who wrote that? Is that a group thing or what?
Oh, that's mainly Waddy. Waddy came to. He had it mostly going, but then he came over to my crib and we worked on it some more, and I added some things to it and we worked on it together. But basically, it's Waddy's song.
Beautiful song.
All right, wonderful. Well, we'll step out for a little commercial. Those things have to be done, and we'll come back and talk to Steve Postell and Danny Kortchmar from the immediate family.
Groovy. Perfect time for me to get a drink.
Immediate family has more session playing and live show mileage than just about any other living players today.
Yeah.
The Immediate Family is a unique group of iconic musicians who have played together for decades, but never as their own band, and known for their long, illustrious careers, backing up such Hall of Fame artists such as James Taylor, Keith Richards, Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt, Carole King, Stevie Nicks, Crosby, Stills, Nash Young, just to name a few. The Immediate Family, a band that can legitimately be called a supergroup. The Immediate Family is the subject of a full-length documentary that goes into depth about the long history of the group and all the accomplishments of each individual member has made. Directed by Danny Tedesco, the movie is distributed by Magnolia Pictures and is available to stream or own now. I just watched it the other night. It was incredible. I really recommend this film. It's won over 18 awards at various independent film festivals and festivals around the world. Go to immediatefamilyfilm.com, and you are listening to the Mike Gormley Show. We will be right back.